Hello everybody, in this video I have some mixed media scrapbooking to share with you. This is with the Thompson's Craft Supplies design team and I am using the AB Studio the Versailles paper pack, and I am scrapbooking a picture of my grandma, which as you can see is quite an old picture. I don't know the exact date, but it will be wartime sometime because there's a cute story that goes with this picture that I'll tell you a little bit later on. But first off, I'm just going to work on my background. I'm taking some stamps. They're both Kaiser Craft like texture background stamps. One is a brick wall effect and one just like a nice handwriting scripty font one. The brick wall one, I'm using a stamping block for this one just so I get a nice crisp image of the wall, and I'm going to stamp and emboss that with the Lindy's embossing powder, like their chunky embossing powder, and this is the colour Chip Off the Old Black, I think, something like that. Now this embossing powder, because it's got some really chunky bits, you kind of have to get your heat tool really hot before you start melting the embossing powder, because otherwise all the really chunky bits just go flying away. And then it also helps to kind of do a little bit of it behind as well on the other side of the paper, because that just kind of helps melt it just a little bit, and then you can do like the real melting on top once that's kind of started off and all those chunky bits aren't going to go everywhere. Anyway, then with that done, I'm going to take the scripty font stamp and not use a stamping block for this one, just because I wanted it a little bit more patchy than the brickwork, and I'm going to emboss that in gold. I think it's just Paper Mania embossing powder in gold, which for some reason I find really hard to link. I don't know if it's like discontinued or something. You would think of Paper Mania being like quite a well-known company, at least in the UK, wouldn't discontinue embossing powder, but it's really hard to find. But gold embossing powder, I'm sure you can find anywhere. Then when my stamping and embossing is all done, I'm going to do just a little bit of stenciling. I'm using a Tim Holtz Damaski sort of stamp. I thought it goes quite nicely with this paper pack. Oh, the paper I'm using, I can't remember the name of it, but you may have noticed at the beginning I've actually turned it on its side. It's supposed to be like the darker blue is supposed to be, I think, on the left, but I actually, because I wanted to do something that went across the whole middle, I turned it on its side, so it was like dark blue at the top and then the light colour at the bottom. I just thought that would work better with something going across the middle. Anyway, I did that stenciling, forgot the word there, with Distress Crackle paste, so I've set that aside to dry, and I'm going to work on some embellishments here. So these pieces here are die cut with a Sizzix Tim Holtz die set, like a flourish die set, and what I'm doing with those is I was going to spray on some distress stain in tarnished brass, but the spray mechanism is not working. I think it's because it says you're supposed to clean out the nozzle every time you use it, and let's be honest, who actually does that? So I just kind of poured some on my glass media mat and then like dunked the little pieces in the spray and then immediately put embossing powder on them. So instead of stamping like them with embossing ink, this does kind of the same effect, but it also makes it kind of patchy. So even though they're embossed with gold in some places, there are some little bits of the tarnished brass like coming through where it's not embossed, and that actually gives a really nice, more distressed effect. I'd also fussy cut some pieces from the Versailles paper pack as well. The stuff at the top you can see I'd actually coloured to go, I thought would go with this project, but the colours were just not right. They're too turquoisey and tropical, so I'll use those in another project. And then the bits towards the bottom you can see, like all the leafy bits, those are also fussy cut from Versailles, and I'm going to keep those. And then I did something else, didn't I? I've forgotten what it was. Oh, I used one of the Minte fussy cutting books, the frame book, to cut out some frames for my picture. Here I am just adding a little bit of spray to the crackle paste area stenciling that I did. This is Dilution Spray in After Midnight. At first, I regretted doing it because I was like, oh, it looked better white. But then with the way it ends up, it's better being this colour. But at first I was like, oh no, I should have kept it white. It looks really nice like that, and the blue looks rubbish. I did add a little bit of water to make it a little bit more runny, so you've got some drips coming down the page. But it works out in the end, we're fine. But I needed something kind of to put all of my embellishments and stuff on, like just kind of like a base for everything. So I had this scrap from the same paperback from my previous project, so I've really torn up the edges of that, gone around those edges with Distress Oxide and Chipped Sapphire, and then just plonked that down. It's not exact middle, it's slightly higher up, but it kind of divides the page into like the navy blue at the top and like the kind of distressed wall colour at the bottom. I just so happened to have a little scrap of chipboard on my desk that I'd used, like was left over from another project, so I'm propping my photo and frame up on that just because it was handy rather than foam, and going around the frame again with the chipped sapphire. And then when I'd done that, it was like, oh, I need to have it on the inside of the frame as well, but it was kind of too late to do that because I couldn't take the picture out. So I'm taking a cotton bud or a Q-tip if you're not in the UK, and just use that to put the colour around the inside of the frame. Then again with the chipped sapphire around my fussy cut pieces, but then I wanted something else as well in the background, so I've taken this Hobbylicious chipboard that was in my kit. It's the Renaissance background, I think it's called, and I thought I could use that, and it goes really nicely with the whole theme, but just that colour was not right, so I'm going to use this Finnair metallic wax to colour it. This is in the colour, where is my list? I've lost it. It's denim something. Oh yeah, Finnair wax old denim. There we go. And I'm going to stick that down with 3D gloss gel, but because it's so delicate, it was kind of not behaving and not sticking down in certain areas, so I put the 3D gloss gel on the back and then put some cups that I use as pencil pots and stuff on it just to keep it down. And then I also kind of felt the urge to put some metal embellishments on this piece as well, so just went into my stash of metal embellishments, found these like corner pieces, I suppose you could call them, and I thought I could just put them either side of the photo like that. So I've got those out and got those ready to use, but I'm going to put down all my die cut and fussy cut pieces first, like my little embossed gold flourishes. Now I'm putting everything down with glue gum, partially because when you use a glue gun you get that sort of slight 3D effect because of the way, you know, hot glue dries in little balls or clumps or whatever. It gives it, as I said, some more dimension without having to start thinking about and faffing around with foam tape. So that's why I like using that. It's also quicker sometimes. I won't use hot glue for like metal embellishments because it's just not trustworthy for those in my opinion. But yeah, for paper things, I'm totally fine. So yes, I put all my gold flourishy pieces, then adding some of those fussy cut leaves and stuff. I think I also had to fussy cut a few more leaves from one of the Minte Flora books. I think it was Flora book 1 maybe, just because I didn't have enough. I just wanted to build it up a little bit more. I've just kind of got that shape, you know, where it's like a big square in the center and then kind of diamondy shapes coming, or triangular, there we go, shapes coming off it, if you can kind of see what I mean there. So yeah, I just fussy cut a few more leaves, and again everything going around the edges with the chipped sapphire, and then once those are done I'm going to add a few more of the gold flourishes here and there, and then me putting down the metal bits, as I said, with 3D gloss gel rather than hot glue gun, just because it is more reliable for metal embellishments and stuff like that. And then again putting something heavy on them just so they stay in place, to stay where I want them to. And then next up, I can't remember what I do next. Oh yeah, I wanted a few more things just around the embellishment clusters. So also in my kit was the AB Studio transparent foil, basically acetate, and there was some leaves on there, and as we seem to end up doing a leaf theme rather than a floral one, I thought I would use some of those. And then I'm also going to cut some butterflies from one of the Minte fussy cutting books, the Wings book, and then also some acetate butterflies which are from my stash. I just remembered I was going to tell you something cute about this picture. So the whole thing with the picture, as I said, is a picture of my grandma taken around wartime. I don't know exactly when, but the reason I know it's around wartime is because this is the photo that she gave my granddad when he went off to war. He was posted in India for pretty much the whole thing. And yeah, he took that with him and then brought it back with him in like a perfect condition, bless him. And then they got married in 1946. So Isn't that lovely? So just really lovely story about that picture, and I just love it. She looks so beautiful in it. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably gonna scrapbook it more than once, because I am not one of those scrapbook snobs, I call them, who are like, you can only scrapbook one photo once, and if you redo it, there's no point in it, and scrapbooking always has to be about storytelling, and you have to have a title, and you have to have journaling. These are the rules. Yeah, I'm not one of those people. You may have gathered that. Hence why there will be no title or journaling on this piece, because it's more like an art piece that celebrates that picture rather than having to be about memory keeping or something like that. Anywho, slight rant over. Once I've got all my embellishments down, you know when you're using a hot glue gun, you kind of get those little hairs or spiderweb things of hot glue everywhere. I tend to wait until everything is put down and then I pick them all off rather than doing it one at a time after every single embellishment. Yeah, I just wait till they're all down and then kind of take them all off, just in case that's like a thing that annoys you about hot glue guns, because it annoys me too. Again, I've brought out that Prima Old Denim Wax to partially colour the metal embellishments, not completely, just like add a little hint of blue. And then I also put a little bit on my gold embossed flourishes, just to, they're still very much gold, but you just like that little hint of blue on them. And then here I am using some Prima Glass Glitter in Gold Rush and Midnight Blue. And I just put 3D gloss gel on my brush and then dip it into the glitter and then sort of paint the glitter onto the page, like in clusters where there's like gaps between embellishments and stuff. It just looks gorgeous. You just kind of keep going back and forth, dipping your brush in the glitter, dipping it in the gloss gel, and at the moment you can't really tell very well what it looks like because the gloss gel kind of mutes the shininess of the glitter when it's still wet, but once it's dry you really see the glitter and it just looks so pretty. I love this technique. It works well with like micro beads and stuff as well. And then I think once I just kind of wanted to use up most of the gloss gel that I had put on my media mat there, but once I've got all that down, went back and forth between the gold and the blue, I then wanted to add my splatters, and using a new product here, well, new to me, I bought some of the Dina Wakley gloss sprays. So I'm going to use the colours, I think it's just the gloss white and also the colour Night, which is like a dark blue, sort of navy blue colour. Should be fairly obvious why I am using those colours. And then also I think, I don't know if I do this next or if I do Nouveau Drops next. Oh, one thing I was noticing with the white gloss spray is where I had the crackle effect paste, adding the white gloss spray just in big drops, as if you will, was really showing up the crackle. So I added like some little extra white bits to those areas with the crackle paste. And then I used some Prima Matte Wax in Old White just to add just a little more texture and stuff to the whole thing, just a little more colour variation. And then I'm going to finish off with some Nouveau Drops, of course, in the colour Midnight Blue, which is showing up at the moment as quite a royal blue, but it dries quite a dark, lovely, rich navy. And there we go, it is finished. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really proud of this one, not gonna lie. I just really love the way it turned out. There was a stage at one point where I hated it, which I think happens to me with all mixed media projects, but then eventually I get to a point, like a turnaround point, and I go, nope, I love it now. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. As always, links down in the description box, including like all the Thompson's links and corresponding blog post, blah 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 blah. You know the drill. I'm going to shut up and go. Thank you so much again. Bye bye.